Everyone remembers the I love you.
I love you.
But in heated rivalry, the moment that changes Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov happens before either of them say it. It's there in the tear that Shane's trying not to let fall. His face stays composed, and his voice stays controlled. But the life he's spent years pretending not to need suddenly slaps him in the face. Because what happens at the cottage is bigger than a confession. It's the first time they remain together long enough to discover what their love feels like when it's not already rushing towards a goodbye. Not just another secret encounter or another stolen night, an actual life. At the cottage, they finally discover what life is like when they no longer have to hide from each other. The cottage is where Shane and Ilya learn what honesty feels like in private. Even the drive feels different. Shane had bought enough groceries that they wouldn't have to leave. The cottage is isolated. His parents believe he's attending a silent retreat. And for 2 weeks, there will be no hotel checkout, no flight waiting. Ilya's grateful to be there, but he's also terrified. Because privacy's always meant a locked room and a limited amount of time. And this is something else entirely. This is duration. At the cottage, they could finally live in private. Once they get inside, Shane tries to impress Ilya with the cottage. The view, the well water, the cokes they bought especially for him. And Ilya responds by making fun of Shane's real estate. That's familiar. And the teasing is safe. Even desire is safe. They spent years speaking both of those languages fluently. Shane proposes something much more vulnerable. For these 2 weeks, they'd like to tell each other what they actually think and how they actually feel. It sounds simple, but for Shane and Ilya, it's almost radical. They begin in the language they already know. The physical desire has always allowed them to say something without naming it. But the cottage doesn't stop when the bedroom scene ends. Life continues into dinner. Shane follows a burger recipe meant for 8 because apparently cutting a recipe in half is where his discipline finally failed him. And after Ilya's done teasing him, later something more important happens. He asks Shane about his parents. Not because he's making conversation, because he realizes how little he knows about the people who shaped the man he loves. Shane admits that Yuna and David don't know that he's gay, but telling him he's gay would eventually bring him closer to the truth he's afraid to name. That the person he's been hiding all these years is Ilya. The burger scene seems kind of light, but it quietly plants the seed of what later walks through the cottage door. That evening, Shane and Ilya sit outside together. They're not rushing toward anything. They simply sit and look at the fire. When Rose's name appears, Ilya's jealousy appears almost just as fast. Then a sound comes from the dark, and Ilya becomes convinced that Canada has produced some kind of wolf bird.
Stupid Canadian wolf bird.
It's funny because Connor's story lets Ilya be completely ridiculous. Shane teases him, Ilya pretends to hate him, and for a moment, there's simply 2 people laughing beside a fire. But the scene doesn't end there. The laughter softens something. Shane asks about Ilya's brother, and that leads into his family. And then Ilya begins talking about his mother. He tells Shane that she died when he was only 12. And he tells him that he was the one that found her. And he really needs Shane to understand that she wasn't weak. Ilya spent years transforming pain into charm, arrogance, sex, jokes, and constant movement. But there's nowhere he needs to move right now. The fire's still burning. Shane's still beside him. So the grief finally has somewhere to go. And Shane doesn't try to repair it. He stays. And that matters. Safety isn't the absence of painful things. Safety's knowing that the painful things won't make the other person leave. Morning comes. Neither one of them have disappeared. And they look at each other and exchange a simple,
I like you. I like you too.
After everything they've done together, the words almost sound too small. But that's why they matter. They're allowing the tenderness to exist without hiding it inside anything else. Later, They play hockey on the TV. Even their competition has become a form of intimacy. Then Hayden calls, and Ilya turns the conversation into exactly the kind of inappropriate challenge only Ilya would find irresistible.
Is it better than,
It's funny, it's sexual, and completely in character. But the important moment comes afterwards. Ilya tries to reduce what exists between them into something reckless or bad, and Shane corrects him. Maybe that description fit what they were doing at the beginning, but it doesn't fit them now. And it hasn't fit them for a long time. That correction is small, but it's Shane refusing to reduce their relationship to the safest explanation. This is no longer two rivals just behaving badly. It's love becoming harder to mislabel. And because that door is open, Ilya begins talking about his future. Later on, he starts talking about how he's going to become a free agent, and he could leave Boston, and he might play in Canada, but he would also like to escape the limitations of his Russian passport. But then later he mentions Svetlana. He could marry her. It would be practical. She would help him, and the marriage would solve a problem. But Shane doesn't hear just a solution. He hears the future coming out. A future where Ilya creates the kind of life the world would recognize without an explanation. A home that no one would question. And Shane suddenly has to imagine himself watching that life happen from the outside. The thought of Ilya building a life with someone else makes the life Shane wants suddenly impossible to hide. He keeps his voice controlled. Hudson Williams barely moves. That's what makes the moment hurt. Shane is still trying to hold the feeling in place, but his eyes aren't helping him anymore. And Ilya doesn't answer with some grand romantic speech. He explains that wherever he goes, beautiful women surround him. They're exciting, but he always finds himself wishing they were Shane. And then Shane asks whether Ilya wants that problem to disappear. Ilya doesn't.
I don't ever want that problem to ever go away.
That answer removes the imaginary future Shane has been using to protect himself. Ilya's not waiting for an easier or more acceptable life. He's already chosen the more complicated one. He chose Shane. And Shane finally says what the tear has already said.
don't marry Svetlana? Just don't.
Then something even more important happens.
We can figure something else out, okay?
We can figure something else out. That one word changes the shape of the relationship. Ilya's future is no longer something Shane has to watch from a distance. His citizenship, his career, and the possibility of keeping him close are no longer burdens Ilya has to carry alone. A hidden relationship teaches you to steal moments. It doesn't teach you how to build a life. And this is where they begin learning. Shane can't leave the problem alone. Of course he can't. That's just Shane being Shane. While Ilya's asleep, Shane's just constructing a future. A new public story that slowly transforms their rivalry into a friendship, and a charity that gives them a reason to appear together without suspicion. Shane talks faster as the plan becomes clearer, because planning is how Shane takes something terrifying and begins to make it possible. He can't control the entire world, but he can begin drawing a path through it. Then Ilya asks the question beneath every part of the plan.
And is that what you want? To be together?
Does Shane truly want them to be together?
So much it scares me.
For years, Shane had treated fear like proof that he should stop. But at the cottage, fear becomes proof that it matters. And then Ilya says, I love you. This time it's not spoken in a language Shane can't understand. It's not disguised as a joke. And Shane understands every word. And he says it back. When he asks whether loving him still feels unbearable, he simply answers, not anymore. Their public rivalry still exists. But the love is no longer something they're trying to make smaller. Later, Shane asked Ilya for his mother's name, Irina. And the charity now becomes more than a camouflage. Shane imagines a hockey school that could raise money for mental health and suicide prevention. The idea grows directly from the most painful thing Ilya trusted Shane with beside the fire. Shane doesn't erase that grief. He gives it somewhere to go. And when Ilya tells Shane that Irina would have loved him, he places Shane inside the most protected part of his life. That fire scene and the plan are no longer separate moments. One made the other possible. Now, the show lets them live inside what they've chosen. They tease each other about Shane's yoga video. They spend time by the lake. They argue about lunch. They kiss without a clock running in the background. Shane and Ilya already knew how to bring the heat to the relationship. The cottage teaches them how to share a quiet moment. Before the cottage, sex could be an event, but just simple intimacy threatened to become a life. Pure desire asks for just one night. Love eventually asks for just another Tuesday. It asks whether they can sit together without needing to perform anything. It asks whether the morning can arrive without becoming an ending. Then the outside world walks through the door. Shane's father sees them together, and the nightmare Shane has spent years rehearsing finally happens. Shane spirals. He believes he's lied to his parents for too long. But Ilya doesn't promise the conversation will be easy. He tells Shane that fear and courage can exist at the same time. And when Shane asks whether Ilya will go with him, Ilya doesn't hesitate. That's the payoff to the cottage. It doesn't protect them from fear. It teaches them how to walk into fear together. And when they do, Shane tells his parents who he is. He tells them who Ilya is. Not his rival, not a mistake, the person he loves. They all sit together and begin untangling years of secrecy. Yuna and David say they'd suspected that he might be gay, but what they never imagined was that the man beside him would be Ilya Rozanov, the rival they believe Shane hated, the person he has secretly known since before the rookie season.
Since your rookie season?
The conversation turns toward the future. Yuna asks whether their plan is simply to keep this in secret till they retire. And Shane and Ilya don't have a better answer yet. Probably. When she tells them that just sounds sad, neither one of them argue. They know. They've always known. Then David brings up that Ilya surprises him. The man sitting beside his son has built a very public reputation as a ladies' man. Ilya doesn't deny it. He admits he's been with many women. But then he separates desire from love in one sentence. I've been with many women, but I've only been in love with one person. And Shane answers immediately. Same here. Only one. Their words fit together so naturally that it almost sounds like one sentence shared between them. They've said that they loved one another before, but now they've spoken the truth together in front of someone else. Their relationship's no longer contained inside of a bedroom or a hotel or even the cottage. It's been witnessed. There's a difference between being loved in private and having that love recognized as part of your life. Neither one can reach across the table, so they find the smallest available way to touch. Not because either one of them needs reassurance about what they just said, because hearing their private truth spoken out loud creates a pull between them that neither one of them can resist. Yuna needs a moment. Shane follows her and begins apologizing. He tells her he's trying to do everything right. And that sentence reveals how long Shane has confused being loved with being perfect. But Yuna stops him. She tells him that he has nothing to apologize for. Then she apologizes for ever making him believe that honesty might cost him her love. For someone who's spent his life preparing to disappoint everyone, her pride gives Shane something he never knew how to ask for. Permission to stop apologizing for the person he loves. And when they go back inside, Yuna automatically starts planning because Shane didn't just develop that instinct by accident. But Shane isn't ready to announce anything publicly. He and Ilya don't need an immediate strategy for their entire world. They need a future. When Shane begins to panic again, Ilya reminds him of where he is. His family is there. His boyfriend is there. And Shane's reaction to that word is almost disbelief. After years without any language for the relationship, they finally have one simple enough to say at the kitchen table. Most of us aren't looking for a cottage. We're looking for one place where our nervous system no longer has to defend who we are. Shane and Ilya spent years proving that they could survive the stolen moments. At the cottage, they finally discover that they can begin building a life. The walls of the cottage allowed them to let theirs down. The hospital showed Ilya what he could lose. The cottage showed both of them what they could finally have. Before the cottage, every goodbye was already built into the beginning. This time, they leave together. And for once, the road in front of them matters more than the place they're leaving behind.